Hi, this is Juha from NouxCloud, and this video is about release notes July 2024. Here's our content for this release note. Again, we have some new central app features, new Edge app features, and then some smaller improvements. Let's start from the central app features. First one is key user. This is a new concept. As you might have noticed, there are now users who have also this key user. How do you call this feature? Uh, the reason behind this key user feature is that we wanted to separate. As you remember, now we have these licenses for the edges, so only key users are the ones who can order those, because our invoicing is tied down to those ones. So we wanted to separate them from regular permissions, so you need to be a key user in order to create those licenses. uh, in the future there might be some other things tied down to this key user thing, but we will let you know if that happens. But so far this is what we got. And how that is controlled, it is in the users menu, and if you open a user, I have another screenshot of that one. Here is a toggle for the key user. You need to have root role to have access to this, so that you can activate this key user thing. Okay, and then two-factor authentication, 2FA. It's a very important security update now. If I will go to the system, and actually, like it says here, by user now. So I myself can go to my profile, and here I can enable this two-factor authentication. If I would click this one, it would then create a QR code, and then I would continue with my phone, where I would need to have some kind of authenticator app. So this is what this two-factor authentication means, that you are not just using your username and password, but you have some additional method of confirming that it's really you. So this is now supported. I can do it via here, and like it says now, it's by user. Of course, it's not enough, but the administrator needs to be able to force this to users. Uh, so so we are also developing that one. It's not released yet, but what we will soon release, so that uh, you can set it to other users also, not just users themselves can set it up. So then it's by the book. Okay, and once we are here, this password requirements. This is also a security update. So here you can see this is also the place where you can create a new password. So if I start writing something here, you notice that it says now that it needs to have certain things here. This is for so we have added these requirements for the passwords, and you can see what those requirements are in the wiki basically. So let's search sorry, password, and if I remember, there in the user section, and here, yes, here you can see the password requirements. So these are the ones then that are the current password requirements. If there's some changes, we will update them here. Okay, then we have some new panels here. So I will go. Let's first take this file panel. I will go now to the dashboards, and let's create, or actually, files. As you can, perhaps you remember that we have this files menu here available, and here you can see different kind of folders, and I have programs per this technology now here saved, and our system creates a pipeline for the edges. So if you drop a file here, you can synchronize those so that the edges can also get those files. So you can use this system to distribute files to edges, to machines. Um, but so far it has been so that you need to have access to this files menu. But this update makes it now so because we have a own file panel type. Let me add a new dashboard and show here these files. So, well, as you can see, it's now same as I would have had here. So if I will save this one, you can see that, okay, now we have a dashboard, or where dashboard user can actually open these folders or add new files or folders or whatnot. So this makes it so that you can create this files availability for the users who have access to dashboards only. So no need to have access here to the files. So that's one new panel. And then we have a new panel called binary graph. This is actually quite nice new feature or new panel. Let me add again here a panel, and here you can see the binary graph. So let's now assume that you have a variable that has binary values like 1 and 0, and here let me add, because I happen to know that here I have this machine on that is exactly that kind of value. Let's make some more out of this. So you can now see that it creates this kind of graph here. Here's the timeline, and here's the variable. It's now quite difficult to say that what is it actually showing. Let's call this on. So it's now a different name, and I can now add. Let's add the same one second time, and the same variable here. You can see that those are now the same, a bit differently named. But I happen to know that this on is when the value is 1. So I can add a postmath expression with certain syntax. So okay, well, nothing happens as you can see here. But let's create this, or add this one. Let's call this off, and then add an expression where this needs to be 0. So now you can see that this on is now taking all the ones, and this off is taking all the zeros, and it's showing in the same graph by time that which one was it. So this is very clear way of showing certain things, and it doesn't, because of these math expressions, it doesn't have to be a binary value as such, because if this would be, let's say, a program name or something like that, that would have 5 values, or some kind of status that would have 5 values, you could use these. So no matter what number this is or what value this is, you could create 5 these kind of things. So it's a very good way of showing certain kind of graphics. Let's see, do we have anything? Yeah, well, it's more simple, but it's like this. And we do have this already documented. So if we take a look in the wiki, in the panels, and this binary graph, here we have some examples and explanation how this works. But that postmath expression is very important, so to use it, so you know what it's doing and not just guessing what's happening here. And if you have questions about the syntax, well, here are the examples how it works. But of course you can go here and see these ones. So these are the expressions that are supported. All right, and then let's go to new edge features. We have a couple of new connectors regarding robots. We have for reading the data, we have Denso robot connector, and then we have this ABB robot web services connector. please bear in mind that these are not at the moment part of the regular service. So if you want those, please contact us and let's see how we handle it. But they are now supported. Mm. And what you can build with that one, let me actually show. Uh, this is a screenshot of a joint demo that NouxCloud had with ABB Robotics and SIG. This was basically this Kofa arm was picking up this kind of small SIG items from the table, and this is now drawing the coordinates that where it was making these pics, and also showing the coordinates and whatnot. We have a small video in YouTube about this. I can add it to this comments or description of this video, so you can take a look. But basically, this means that with certain robots, we can now connect and take the data and visualize it also normally. And then unlicensed indication. Uh, Again, you remember that we have now these edges that are licensed, that they only work when they have license, or you can configure them without the license, but so that it would send the data would be flowing, you need to have a license. And sometimes this is causing a bit confusion, so I will go now to the gateway list. It is indicated here that does this edge have a license or not, but especially when you're adding your first one, it's not so clear to see it from here. So now if I go to this one, we have a license here. Let me just copy this and I will remove now this license. You will get the notification that do you want to really do this, because you will lose the data. Configuration stays, but the data it's not flowing while it doesn't have the license. But yes, I want to continue, and I will save this. And if I go back to the gateway list here, you can see now that okay, this does not have a license. And if I go back here, it indicates this also, that it does not have a license. So this way, every time you enter this gateway, if you don't have a license, it jumps up, and it should be quite obvious that something is missing. I will now paste back the one I had, and if I save it, okay, now again I have the license here, and this one showing the true again. I copy pasted now, but if that would have failed, just to remind you, those license keys are here available. This was the one I was using, so if I would have missed that, lost that somehow, now this is where I would have found that license or some other unused license that I could have used then. All right, TwinCat browsing. So all our Beckhoff users rejoiced. We have added this browse function. Let me go to a gateway, and here, for example, if I would add a data collector, the TwinCat data collector, here you see that we have a browse here. It's not now connecting to anything, so it's unavailable. But if it would be, then it would work similarly as we have with this OPC UA, that you can browse the variables. You don't need to enter them more or less manually, but you can browse them. So that's a new feature on the edge. And then these IP settings examples. Perhaps you remember we previously talked about that we have been adding these. They are a bit better aligned, so it's more clearer, this view. But we have also added these examples as much as we can. So if you need to edit these, then you would have these examples here, that what they should look like, what is the exact syntax if you are handling the gateway IP settings. So yeah, those are now a bit more clear. Okay, that was the stuff, or the new Edge app features. And then some smaller improvements. Let's go to those. So to the API, we have made several small improvements, or well, if this is an improvement or not, it can be debated. We have added this 10,000 data points query limit to the API, and the reason being that if it gets a lot bigger, it starts causing issues to both our servers and of course on the user end, and there needs to be certain kind of limits. This is the same amount that we are using uh, in the dashboards, because the dashboards are also using the API to get the data and then visualize it. So for safety reasons, we are using this, and for the reasons that we ensure the functionality, we are using this limit. This is now affected to the API. So if you're making queries, please be aware that this is the limit. And now the question, of course, is that if you know that you have bigger amounts of data that you need to query, so what to do? Short answer is that tough luck. This is the limit that it's going to stay. Long answer is that you need to plan how to make these queries, and make them sort of incremental. That, for example, using time, that okay, let's take 1 day at a time or 1 week at the time, so that we stay under this 10,000 limit. That is the pretty standard way how these APIs need to be built. The queries need to be built, and of course, then if you have constant need of bigger amounts of data, then perhaps you should consider that do we want to make some kind of a solution so that the data is like all the time forwarded to some other database, or even do we put it to our edge so that it's sending the data to some other database. uh, all these are feasible. We just need to agree how to do that. But yeah, there's some food for thought that how to actually do this. And very closely related to that one, we have now these error status codes. So previously, if you made, for example, it had a connection timeout, you made a do big query or something like other, you would only get null answers. So you got nothing back. So it was quite difficult to investigate that what went wrong. Now we have added so that you will get these error status codes, like for example that connection timeout. You have that 408, 408. So you have a bit more when you start tracking that what's wrong with the query, why it fails. So those are now there, and then we have made some improvements to the alert queries. Let me go to Swagger and show it. So now we are in Swagger. You remember this documentation to our API, and for the alerts we have added now that there are some better possibilities to make these queries. Like for example, well, alert from the specific time range, but especially this list of currently active alerts. So because alerts can be, they are they can be active for a long time. So this way you can use these queries now to get some better or make those queries more efficient and get what you need. Okay, jumping back to slides, and here we are. So those were the API improvements, and then well, smaller improvements basically on the dashboards. Uh, Panel visibility settings. You perhaps remember we had these. We have these panel visibility settings so that you could decide that are there some kind of conditions that when this is not shown and when it is shown, and so forth. This was a previously existing feature, but it was not affecting all panels that it should have been. So, for example, certain cage panels, uh, like these ones. So now they are added there also. So it's more comprehensive feature now. And then this value mapping order. Okay, so let's go to this panel that has some value mapping. When you are building these mappings, this is how you build those, so step by step, and it actually has a meaning that which order you are using, because it's creating this kind of what the professionals call nested if query. So it will first ask this one, check this condition, and then based on that go to other conditions. So it has a meaning that how you're building this. With this kind of, when we know that there's only two possible options, it's not so relevant. But if it gets more complicated, it is relevant. And previously, if you made some kind of error there, or you wanted to change the order, then you basically had to scrap this and start from scratch. But now we have these move down and move up arrows, so you can change this order, and therefore change how the condition works. This makes that kind of work a lot easier. Okay, and other stuff, condition variable picker search. So let me close this one, and let's open, for example, this one. You remember here you can add some conditions to this graph, how it functions. Previously these ones, it didn't have so extensive search functions, but now it does. So if this list got like really big, that there are dozens or even hundreds of variables, it was quite difficult to search those. So now there have been improvements that it's easier to pick a variable there. And then we had postmath expression multiline option. So this means that if you have a postmath expression that's very long or difficult, like for example here we have an excellent example. So you can see that this equation or this expression is quite long. So previously it was just one row, and you needed to scroll to the right, so you could see the whole thing. Now it's in multiple lines, and you can yourself add these lines, so that if you want to somehow group this by line breaks, so it's easier to handle these more complicated expressions. So it was a small thing but annoying thing before this improvement. All right, and then one last thing, we have this notification panel colors. Perhaps you have noticed that if we sometimes need to notify something urgent to all users, all NouxCloud users, then we do it in this system. And there was a small but very annoying issue, that depending on the settings that you are using, the color settings that you are using, it sometimes got a bit messy. So for example, here you see with certain color settings, there was always this acknowledge button how you could get rid of this notification, but it was very well hidden here. It was here, it didn't have this. This is now my addition, this orange highlight, but when it did not have this, it was kind of difficult to find this acknowledgement button. Yeah, and of course that's not good user experience. And like I said, it totally depended on the color settings that you were using, but now it's sort of irrelevant. It should be clearer all the times. All right. These were the release notes for this summer. And please remember to follow us on LinkedIn and this YouTube channel to see what other cool stuff we are doing except these releases. Until we meet again.